Well, wow. Welcome everyone to our UN Women Australia's International Women's Day 2022 event. I'm joining you here from Sydney, and I'd like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land from which I join you from, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. International Women's Day is a celebration, and today is very much a celebration. And to see the number of people happy, out and engaged to be in an event is absolutely wonderful, certainly after the last few years that we've had. But it is also, so welcome everybody, enjoy wherever you are joining us from. As Georgie mentioned earlier, we are beaming to you live from Sydney, Melbourne, also in Perth. But as recently as 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon, we had to make the terrible call and the really tough decision that it was not possible for us to go ahead in Brisbane. So to all of our supporters in Brisbane, to all the people the corporates who bought tickets, who supported the event and couldn't join us physically in the room in Brisbane today, I also want to thank you for flipping your support, joining us online and still being part of this amazing celebration. We really do thank you. As I mentioned, the floods have devastated Queensland and also northern New South Wales. Earlier this week, I put a call in to a very dear friend who lives in northern New South Wales to see how she and her young family were faring. She couldn't respond to me because she was a little bit under the pump, so to speak, but she sent me a text and said to me, "We can't get into Lismore. They've declared a disaster and we're actually not allowed in there. We're not allowed in there because we don't know the extent of the loss of human life, as well as the loss of livelihood and impact to businesses." When you get that kind of text message, it reminds you of just how fragile a planet we live on, but also the impact that women and families and men are facing every day when natural disasters strike. Then we take our mind across the globe to the Ukraine and the utterly unavoidable situation and invasion of Ukraine. We've all spoken about that earlier this morning, but again, we know that in conflict, in disasters, women and children are the most impacted. We know that they are most at risk of violence, and UN Women is working on the ground in all these situations, wherever possible, to ensure that women and girls are safe and able to lead as normal a life as is absolutely possible. I've spent probably the last 25 years of my working career working in and around disasters, which is not a very upbeat place to be, I must share with you, but it has taught me a lot about the struggles that humans face all around the globe. From Kosovo through to Timor-Leste, the Asia-Pacific tsunami, and even most recently the bushfires here in Australia and their devastating impact, not only on humans and livelihoods and properties, but also on our wildlife. And it makes me think just how lucky we are, A, to be in this country, but also to consider those who aren't as lucky. And really the fact that we all need to pull together, as we always do as Australians, to help those who need us most. We've heard a lot today about the situation in Afghanistan and the impact there on women and families, and the fact that the situation has been deteriorating over a number of years. These are stories that continue to be told, and unfortunately, we need to continue with enthusiasm, with effort, to really address the impact of these disasters on women and girls. And most recently, in terms of COVID, not only across the globe, but here in Australia, I was involved in many teleconferences where working mothers would say, "I'm just going to go on mute, I need to duck out and see if the homeschooling is working in the next room." There are women in this room that have had to deal with the impact of COVID on elderly family members, on those who are compromised, and also on their own children. And I take my hat off to you. My children are much older, and if I had to homeschool and work full-time and do that virtually, I don't know that I would have survived that. So I'd like to acknowledge all of you in the room that have had to do that over the last 2 years. UN Women works in over 100 countries, and we work here in Australia, but we don't do it alone. We do it in partnership and with the support of the Australian Government and also the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, who have been a long-term supporter of International Women's Day. We could not do what we do without the support of the Australian Government, and on behalf of UN Women and women everywhere, thank you. But it's not only governments we work with. We are also incredibly proud of our partnership with Westpac. It's a partnership designed to empower women wherever they are, to be in charge of your own financial security and to know what that looks like, to have the capability, the opportunity and the knowledge to be able to manage your own financial security, not only now, but in the future. So again, thank you, Westpac. We love being your partner. We are also delighted to recently announce our partnership with Optus. The lovely thing about Optus is they just said yes. And they are again here with us today in the room among other sponsors, and we did want to say thank you. Our partnership with Optus is about amplifying women's voices wherever they need to be heard, everywhere, whenever we can, and connecting with women, joining them, bringing them together, a role that Optus plays so brilliantly in Australia and beyond. So thank you, Optus. I'm often struck by individuals' generosity of spirit when you say you work for UN Women, and people just naturally put their hands up and say, how can I help? We're also delighted to have a partnership with the Monkeys, one of the best, if not the best, creative agencies in this country, who were able to bring to us a campaign last year entitled When Will She Be Right? It was an award-winning campaign, but most importantly and most poignantly, it asked all Australians a very, very simple question. When will women in Australia be right? I'd like to share with you a story about this wonderful young woman, Anitha, who I met earlier this week at a gender equality event. For someone who is in Year 10, she is an incredible overachiever and is also here with us in the room and gives me great faith about the future of gender equality in this country. Anitha is recognised in Forbes 30 under 30. Yeah, wow, right? At the age of 10, she received a grant for $10,000 to develop a concept that she had. And when I met her during the week, she said that her biggest joy was engaging other girls her age to get involved in STEM and science and help drive gender equality. Well done. The future of gender equality really is in the hands of the next generation, but we're not done yet. UN Women's goal globally is to achieve, along with partners and supporters, gender equality by 2030. At current estimates, that's about 135 years away. Now, for those of you who know me, I'm not a very patient human being, and I'm not prepared to wait 135 years, and I hope none of you are either. And I'm not just talking to the women in the room and virtually and online, I'm talking to the men. We cannot do it alone. We need you side by side. We need you to be advocates for women wherever you are. When we see misogyny, we need to call it out. When we see bad behaviour, we need to call that out. To echo one of our previous presenters, gender equality is all our responsibility. And if we do achieve gender equality, the planet, your lives, will be better for it. We need activists, we need champions. We need people who are going to be provocative, who are going to ask people to step up and change and face into the needs of women wherever they are. And I encourage all of you to leave here today, and if there's one thing that you think about, it's the role that you can play. As a parent, as a sister, as a brother, as a leader, what is the role that you're going to play in helping achieve gender equality? We know that if women are empowered financially and are in control of the finances, communities survive and thrive. It's what our partnership with Westpac is based on, and it's one of our priorities working as UN Women to ensure that women are in charge and in control of their financial security. It has never been more important. We also look at the role that women play in the economy and in leadership. And in an election year, I would say in Australia, it's a really important time for us to consider the important vote that we all have as Australians in our leaders. Females are, and women are underrepresented in every aspect of life in Australia currently. From your house to Parliament House, find your voice, step up, face in, be a voice for gender equality We need every single one of you, and we can get there. And I'm not going to wait 135 years. I'm just going to close to you today to wrap up on the campaign that we launched last year when we did ask you all, when will she be right? And I want to break it down for you because it's really quite simple. She'll be right when she's safe at home, when she's safe on the streets, when she's safe online, when she's living a life free from violence and abuse. She'll be right when she's in control of her own finances. She'll be right when she's in a position of leadership with greater representation both here and globally. And she'll be right when she's not under threat of violence. The statistic that 1 in 3 Australians are at risk of violence from their partner or someone that they know is abhorrent in this country. We need to do better. So finally, if someone asks you after today, so when will she be right? She'll be right when she's equal. Thank you.